We've been taught to fear being alone. We're told that solitude is sad, that the person sitting by themselves is lonely, that constant company is the mark of a good life. But some of the most powerful, creative, and self-possessed people who ever lived understood the exact opposite. They knew that solitude is not a punishment. It's a privilege. Friedrich Nietzsche spent much of his life alone, often in the mountains, and he understood that being alone is where a person truly meets themselves, where they grow, where they find a strength the crowd can never give. In this video, you'll discover why being alone makes you powerful. Number 4 is the one that explains why almost no great thing was ever created in a crowd. Stay until the end. 1. In solitude, you finally hear your own voice. When you're constantly surrounded by people, you're constantly absorbing their opinions, their expectations, their noise. Your own thoughts get drowned out beneath the endless chatter of everyone else's. But in solitude, the noise finally stops and you can hear something rare. Your own voice, your own thoughts, what you actually think and feel beneath all the influence. Nietzsche understood that a person needs to withdraw from the crowd to discover who they really are apart from it. Most people never hear their own voice clearly because they never sit long enough in silence to let it speak. Solitude is where you finally meet yourself. 2. Being alone frees you from the pressure to conform. In a group, there is always an invisible pull toward fitting in, toward thinking what the others think, wanting what they want, becoming a slightly smaller, safer version of yourself to belong. Nietzsche called this the pull of the herd, the pressure to dissolve your individuality into the comfort of the group. But when you're alone, that pressure vanishes. You're free to think your own thoughts, hold your own values, become your own person without anyone's approval. Solitude is where individuality is born because it's the only place the crowd can't reach you. The person comfortable being alone is the person free to be fully themselves. 3. Solitude is where you build a relationship with yourself. Most people are terrified of being alone for a simple reason. They've never developed a relationship with themselves, so their own company feels unbearable. But this is exactly the skill that solitude builds. When you spend time alone, you slowly learn to enjoy your own mind, to be your own companion, to find peace in your own presence. Nietzsche understood that the person who cannot stand to be alone with themselves is running from something. The one who can sit comfortably in their own company has found a kind of stability nothing external can shake. You will spend your entire life with yourself. Solitude is where you finally become someone worth spending it with. 4. Deep work and creation require being alone. Here is why almost nothing great was ever created in a crowd. Every meaningful work, every idea, every piece of art, every breakthrough was born in solitude, in the focused silence where a single mind could go deep. Distraction is the enemy of depth, and other people, however wonderful, are a constant source of distraction. Nietzsche did his greatest thinking alone, walking for hours in the mountains, away from the noise of society. The crowd is where you consume. Solitude is where you create. If you want to produce something meaningful, build something real, or think something original, you will have to be willing to spend long stretches alone. There is simply no other way. 5. Alone, you stop performing and start being real. In the presence of others, we are almost always performing, managing how we come across, adjusting ourselves to be perceived a certain way, wearing the mask the situation demands. It's subtle and constant, and it's exhausting. But in solitude, the performance ends. There's no one to impress, no role to play, no image to maintain. You can finally just be. Nietzsche valued authenticity, the courage to be who you are rather than who others want you to be. Solitude is where the mask comes off and you remember what your face actually looks like underneath. That return to your real self is not loneliness, it's relief. 6. Solitude makes you immune to the fear of being alone. Here is the deepest power of all. Most people make terrible decisions because they're afraid of being alone. They stay in bad relationships, keep toxic friends, and chase approval they don't even want, all to avoid solitude. The fear of being alone quietly runs their lives. But the person who has learned to be comfortable alone is free from that fear entirely. They can leave what doesn't serve them, refuse what diminishes them, and walk away from anything, because being alone holds no terror for them. Nietzsche understood that the self-sufficient spirit fears nothing the crowd can threaten. When you no longer fear solitude, you can no longer be controlled by the threat of it, and that makes you genuinely free. Now, none of this means you should isolate yourself completely, push everyone away, or convince yourself that needing no connection makes you superior. That isn't power. It's just loneliness pretending to be strength. Human beings need connection. Relationships and love are among the deepest joys of being alive. The point isn't to choose solitude over people forever. It's to become someone who doesn't fear solitude, so that your connections come from genuine desire, not desperate need. The healthiest life isn't all crowd or all solitude. It's the rhythm between them, time with others that you choose freely, and time alone that you use to return to yourself. Seek connection from fullness, not from the fear of being alone. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't reach immediately for your phone, for noise, for any distraction to fill the silence. Sit in it, let it teach you. Solitude is where you hear your own voice, escape the herd, befriend yourself, create what matters, drop the mask, and lose your fear of being alone. The people who seem most powerful are almost always those who learn to be at peace in their own company. Being alone was never the thing to fear. The real tragedy is going your whole life never having truly met yourself. Solitude is where that meeting finally happens. If this resonated with you, it's probably because you felt the difference between lonely solitude and the powerful kind. For more on the psychology of power, the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche, and the strength found in solitude, subscribe, because learning to be powerfully alone is how you take back control of your life.